52, and I excavated a cemetery of small tumuli. This is dated from 10th century BC to 7th century.
Andronikos found that some of the mounds contained multiple burials, which showed that successive generations had reused them to bury their families. The dead were accompanied by bronze objects, which as early as 1000 BC already showed clear connections with southern Greek styles.
We had the history of this place from the early Iron Age, from 10th century, up to the Roman period, but we needed the 2 centuries, the 6th and the 5th, which were very important for the history of the Macedonians, because were just the early dates of the Macedonian kingdom. As we know now that this place was the first capital of Macedon, to have any evidence of this early period is very important.
And in 1988, between the mounds and the city, Andronikos found his long-awaited missing link in a spectacular tomb dating from the early 5th century BC. It was the grave of a woman. Her skeleton has decomposed, but the head and body can be discerned in the pattern her exquisite jewellery has made around her. Her head is crowned by a headband and draped with a golden coil. And all around are pins, brooches and other ornaments. Dr. Angeliki Kotaridou was responsible for its excavation.
These pieces of jewellery were found at Ageia, now the modern village of Vergina. The grave dates from 500 to 490 BC, and the beautiful jewellery makes it clear that it belonged to a woman. She was buried with magnificent clothes decorated with gold. She wore a heavy robe over a lighter dress. The robe was fastened with these 2 brooches, and the dress would be held in place with the help of this fibula. The grave also contained many other pieces of jewellery. This is the woman's necklace. And this is a bracelet with a detail showing a snake's head. Finally, we found this set of beautiful golden earrings.
In 1989, Andronikos investigated the area adjacent to the Golden Grave in the hope of finding more intact burials. 4 tombs were found in this newly discovered cemetery. 2 were built of limestone blocks to make underground chambers. The others were simpler shaft graves dug straight into the earth. But there were also the frustrating signs that tomb robbers had been there before them. Digging the largest of the 2 chamber tombs, Andronikos' fears were confirmed. Bones and artifacts were strewn all around, leaving a scatter of pottery and marble vessels, and a skull thrown to one side. Nevertheless, Andronikos found some very important evidence. Called white lekithoi, these vases were previously assumed to have been possessed only by elite Athenians. Imported around 450 BC, their appearance here proves that a century before Philip, Macedonian nobility displayed a wealth and sophistication comparable to their southern counterparts.
Σε αυτή τη λίθο προχωράει καλά. Τα άλλα είναι μαλακά και βγαίνει σχετικά καλά. Δεξιά εδώ έχουμε μια γυναικεία μορφή.
Dionysios Kapizionis is an expert conservator. He has come to Vergina to undertake the restoration of the vases.
Ναι. Έχουμε εδώ κάποιο δείγμα που θα καθαρίσει περίπου έτσι. Όταν έχουμε σκληρά άλατα έχουμε μεγαλύτερη δυσκολία, αλλά εδώ είναι πιο μαλακά.
Σε πάρει πολύ χρόνο.
Αυτή η λίχθος όχι.
The main problem he faces is the hardness of the mineral deposits, which will require many hours of careful cleaning to remove. In one of the shaft graves, and in this second chamber tomb, the robbers had been very thorough. But even here, in this small pit, the team encountered more golden relics. Though the robbed shaft tomb had been disappointing, they still found one of a pair of golden shoes. As the excavation progressed, attention turned to the fourth burial. A deeper shaft grave, earlier than the chamber tombs. And this time the indications were more promising.
And now we are searching a big trench, very deep. We are reaching now the 4 meters deep, and we hope that will be a quite important burial of the late 6th or early 5th century. Until now we had a find above the burial, probably was in the filling of the shaft. We found almost, if I am correct, 10 or 11 terracotta heads in natural size, broken but very beautiful work. I could say it's a great sculpture. Probably were done in a mold, and all of them were the same face, I mean, the same personality. Probably is a goddess, and probably is the goddess Persephone, as far as I can judge from the first moment.
With this find, Andronikos once more encountered the goddess whose image he'd seen in the first tomb found in the great tumulus 12 years before. By the end of the 1989 season, he had added well over 20 heads to this collection. Beautifully made, they still bear traces of their original colouring. There are so many that Andronikos now believes that they may represent a cult of Persephone, perhaps similar to those celebrated in southern Greece, and here indicating an important grave.
There is an evidence that underneath we'll find something very important, but still we don't know. In archaeology, you never can say that you'll find or you'll find not. Sometimes you have no hopes and you find something very important. Sometimes you are almost sure and you don't find anything.
At the base of the shaft, there is a bronze tripod used to support a vessel, and close by another bowl, but still no sign of a burial. There is also a strange layer of charcoal. Again, Andronikos and his team are confronted by unique and puzzling features. Suddenly, the charcoal is interrupted by this area of rubble fill, which extends into the neighbouring chamber tomb. They had found a tunnel used to gain access to the shaft grave by those who had already robbed the chamber tomb. In dragging their booty back through the tunnel, the robbers seemed not to care that they dropped articles like this bronze figurine. If this was not worth taking, what else might the tomb have contained?
All this makes us to think that it was a very rich and very important tomb. And I must remark that it's something, it brings to my mind an idea that all the tombs we found until now in this area are female tombs, are burials of ladies, very rich ladies, and of different dates. It's rather unusual.
Andronikos now knows that this female cemetery continued in use and became grander and grander. And most important, the dig has finally connected the early growth of Macedonia with its golden age, because there is one more female tomb hidden under this tin roof that reveals a direct link to King Philip. This is the first time cameras have been allowed inside. Another monumental tomb like Philip's, but even larger. The door to the main chamber tantalizingly ajar. When the tomb was first discovered in 1987, Andronikos found that several huge blocks had been removed by robbers trying to enter the tomb from the side. He also found a human skeleton. And a second body was lying in the antechamber. Both, it seems, were murdered by companions, intent on taking all the treasures inside for themselves. After a lifetime of searching for unrobbed tombs, Andronikos had come across some of the culprits who had deprived him for so long. The issue now was, had this falling out among thieves diverted them from their purpose? Could anything remain intact inside the tomb?
In this tomb we have three absolutely unique characteristics. First is the marvelous throne. It's unique, absolutely unique, with this painting, which is again the only one painting on a marble piece like this we have. All this sculpture decoration, all this relief gilded decoration is absolutely marvelous. Then we have the back wall of this chamber, which represents the facade of a tomb of a building. It's an Ionic building with the columns, the epistelion, and all the other elements of an Ionic art. But here we have the whole colors. It's the only one building of antiquity I know with all its colors. And we have this false door, these false windows, and we have something more. On the vault we have iron hooks. I don't know the use of them. That the tomb belongs to a lady is almost sure. This tomb is the biggest and the earliest of all Macedonian tombs. The throne is something very exceptional. all the construction makes me believe that